Jackie, we're on a Tuesday at 2:00 just to throw people off.
I'm so excited to be back. I was just thinking about that the other day. I'm like, God, I miss doing those with Rick. And then through came your text message. I was
Yeah,
like,
I was saying, hey,
yes.
let's get on at 8:30 in the morning. You go, well, no, I can't. I got this. Finally, I just said, just give me a time. We'll just do it. So, it's we'll still get millions and millions of viewers. So we got
Well, you're
so
missing Pat, so I don't know, but we'll
well,
see.
maybe 1.5 million then. So,
Yeah, there you go.
I talked to him this morning. He's doing good. So getting ready for our Thursday show. I think I don't know if I can do a Thursday show. I think I got an event I'm going to. But anyway, I wanted to talk because it's slow, but it's not slow everywhere, and it's not slow for everybody. And and I see comments, oh, there's no buyers. Well, there are. I mean, I track it every day. I'm going to pull it up here and show you what I look at. And it's my 7-day moving average. And so the black line is the number of homes under contract over a 7-day period. The other gold line is number of new listings. So you can see how it dipped down over Memorial Day and Mother's Day. We actually had more contracts than we had new listings. And that's why our active listing total went down a couple hundred. And you'll see that on my other chart. So now we got more new contracts than we have, or more new listings than we have contracts by about 100.5. But the new contracts have been pretty steady all the way back to about July of last year. So it's not declining. It's like we've got a base of 3,000 buyers that are out there. And David here says just bought Sun City West, moving from Minnesota in August. Boy, good luck getting somebody to help you in August.
Congratulations, though.
Yeah, congrats. But so I pulled this up. Well, who is buying as a mix? This one's kind of an eye chart, but it shows you that down on the bottom, that little pink number there, 11.8% are investors. This is of our total sales. 11.2% are second homes, and we're up to 76.1% of single family, or of what we call owner occupied homes. I'm going to get this magnifying glass out of the way. It doesn't say it. Yeah, owner occupied. Now, we had a lot of investor owned here in 2022. The Q1, we had 21%. And then down here, iBuyers. iBuyers for scooping up a lot of stuff in 2022. And then they had a fire sale after that because interest rates went up and they started dumping like crazy. So overall, the mix of who's buying, not that big of a change. Here is pending listings, though. Isn't it amazing? The red line here on the bottom, Jackie, is just below 2024 numbers. And they're almost identical week after week.
Yeah. It looks so close.
Slightly lower, but it's just talk about easy to follow a pattern. You go, well, we're coming to summer now, so it's going to get slower. It does. And then as we start getting the fall, it starts to pick up a little bit, although it didn't this past fall. So we can predict confidently that our 3,000 may go down to 29, 2,800, something like that. Here's our active listings. Now, I've been saying that they were going to go down, and they did, just because of Memorial Day and Mother's Day. Now, I think they're going to flatten out, and I think we're just going to stay right about here till we get the fall. And one of my reasons is, I look at expired listings and canceled listings. I mean, are they going to come back? Some did. Back on market, jumped a little bit. But as a rule, the majority of them, they're done for the summer. They're not going to come back. But where are the buyers that you're working with now? Where are they from? Are they from here, or what are you seeing?
It's so interesting because, well, we're always heavy on the listing side. And so I was mentioning to you before the show, which was so out of character because I've done land for many, many years. I had a little lot I listed, and literally it was on the market for about a week, maybe a week and a half. And all of a sudden on the same day, 3 offers. And then I had people actually calling, wanting to make an offer while I was presenting the offers. And they were all people going to build a home for themselves. So I just found it very interesting because this is not typically the time where you would see lots selling. So,
Yeah,
and then,
you usually get a lot of inquiries on land when real estate's really brisk.
yes.
And then, but at the same time, if you do pick up a lot, then you have a hard time finding a contractor.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, but why now, huh?
It's just interesting. And I've got several of the guys that have called off that lot, and they're like, well, can we be on a list in case it falls through? I'm like, sure. But now I'm searching for lots for them. And the other crazy part is it's out in Tonopah. And so you just don't see like brisk activity like that so far out. And then it seems like our upper end listings, which everybody's saying, the luxury market's kind of been less affected by everything. It has slowed, but still, we had one that we're listing. It's going live on Thursday, but I put it coming soon Friday. And within an hour, I had a showing request, and that's at 1.65. And then we've got buyers from California. We've got buyers from New York. I actually have an investor right now that is looking at picking up a couple new homes. He was a little bummed out that he can't get the low interest rates, but at the same time, I'm like, well, some of these new homes are wheeling and dealing. Let's ask for the concessions, ask for the closing costs, and see if we can get enough to buy a rate down some. So,
Yeah, and then we've got some buyers from Seattle that are under contract now too, and we have some. What I am seeing is not so much the first time home buyers, but we have a young couple that want to step up,
mm-hmm.
and so they're waiting. They can see the tea leaves, and they can see that, especially if you look now on this chart, this just shows list pricing's finally coming down. That doesn't mean that the sales price is coming down, although it is, but not at the rate that list prices are finally coming down. And so they're looking at that going, well, maybe by the end of the summer, there'll be even more choices and better prices. And I agree when it comes to resale homes where they're looking, because we're seeing more and more of that.
I think it kind of depends on the area, though, too, because there's some other areas that are very brisk. And we listed a house that's been on the market for 30 days, though, in North Phoenix, that at the time we were getting ready to list it, because there was some prep work that went into it, and we had a tenant we were dealing with. The market was moving, but now we haven't had a showing on that in 30 days. And we keep adjusting the price. He's willing to be aggressive, and we're at an aggressive price, but nothing. But then you go down to Levine, and it's still hopping. Avondale Tolleson, it's still hopping.
Well, it's interesting because as you were pulling those up, I pulled up the Cromford report here, and because Gilbert has really come down as far as the, it's still considered pretty balanced, but you brought up Avondale. Look at Avondale. It's the Cromford Market Index is now 119, which is considered, good for sellers. Chandler is still doing okay. It's right there. But the other areas that are getting beat up pretty bad are, of course, Maricopa, which for some reason, there it is. It's a bottom dweller down here, but you can see that for the most part, things are kind of going down in the Gilbert Mesa area. And so that's what makes buyers, because that's a leading indicator, saying, well, I'm not going to get hurt if I don't find anything in July, but because their radar's still up, they're still looking. They're not actively in the car at this point, but if something comes up, they'll recognize it. They're very price savvy. And we're also seeing the number of price changes this week spiked, but it went down because, again, the holidays, and but it's back up to 3,488. And we're seeing that 51% of the homes are offering concessions, but it's more kind of normal-ish, except for the concessions, than it is desperation. I mean, concessions as a rule were hanging around 39% since 2014.
Mm-hmm.
So, and at about half the amount, about $4,000, $5,000. But it's not quite dire desperation out there, is it?
Well, again, it just depends where you're at. There's some areas that I feel like it is dire. But at the same time, you got to remember people are competing with the new homes and the incentives that they're offering. And especially always going into the summertime, they always get aggressive. It's actually in the beginning of the fall is when they kind of start pulling back, and sometimes they'll run out of the money for the buy downs and stuff like that. And then whatever they've got left at the end of the year, you see that big surge. But we were able to get a really good deal for a client of ours down in Levine. And we even got an additional 20 off because the agent made a typo at the end.
Oh,
and we took advantage of it, went and got him another 20,000 off the price.
got something bouncing off my glasses here. What type of typo, can I ask?
So we had made a very, 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 very aggressive offer.
Yeah, I saw that.
They came back and they said, this is our final offer. Well, the rep, when she typed it, she reversed 774 for 747. And so our client saw that and got all excited and was like, wait a minute, am I seeing this right? They're also coming down 30,000 on the price besides what they were agreeing to give us. And so he was like, deal. Well, I had a feeling that it might be a typo. So I actually got her big boss on the phone. And I'm like, you got to make the client happy. This is what he saw. So they wouldn't come down the whole 30, but I was able to get him down 20. Originally they came down 15, and then I went back after them for another 5, and we got 20 more off the price. So it ended up being 757 versus 777.
I've seen those mistakes where new listings come on the MLS and they're missing a digit. So instead of 300,000, it's 30,000. Man, I immediately call the agent. I'm probably not the first one to call you, but think, oh my God, thank you.
Or 3 million.
Yeah. And the problem here's the problem, because I made a mistake once like this so let's say it's a $400,000 house and you made a mistake, and because you know what it's like when you're putting everything in the MLS, it's just one line after the other. And you, for some reason you missed, which I'll never do it again. And you're like 40,000 instead of 400,000. You already click submit. Well, as soon as you click submit, you see it and you go, oh my God. And you go in and correct it. Now you're in the history tab.
Right.
Hey, Rick,
and it's gone out to the syndicates.
It went to Zillow and went to your clients just wants to shoot you. Don't blame them. And so now, when you're putting that listing together, I just stare at it and stare at it. I walk away from it. I come back to it. I look at the numbers again, because I don't want to make that kind of mistake again.
Yep.
But foreclosures. This is down on the bottom here, reverted to beneficiaries, the red line, and sold to third parties, the blue line. They're going up, but they're not anywhere near where they used to be, going all the way back to 2014. So they're climbing. Now, I don't know. I'm seeing articles and comments about FHA's got a whole bunch of homes that are going to reset. The people are in not delinquency, but in forbearance, are going to hit the market. Just kind of reminds me of 2012 when everybody was warning us about shadow inventory.
Right. I remember that. And there was none.
There was none.
Yeah.
Other news I saw today, today, Open Door stock went down to 59 cents. They're talking about doing a reverse stock split. And I asked Pat, I go, what's that mean? He goes, that's just gimmickry. It's a gimmick. He said, it's not going to change anything. He says, I said, well, it's going to move the stock price at all? He goes, nope. So they're knocking on
Jesus.
death's door. They're doing it to try and not be delisted on NASDAQ because they got a letter. They've got 100 days to get above $1. And so I still think somebody's going to buy them out. But
Yeah. Well, that's going to be their only salvage.
they've got $2.2 billion worth of assets, houses on the market. So if somebody buys them out, they're going to probably buy them out and go, you're going to have to give us a deal on those $2.2 billion. So
I'm not seeing them here, though. Have you checked lately?
I haven't seen how many listings that they have here.
I haven't seen very many at all.
Hasn't been much. Hey, I got a new addition. It's a link in my newsletter. I want to share this with people here. I built this. It's called Arizona This Week. So you'll get, if you sign up for it, there's a link in, I'll have it. If you're signed up my newsletter, you'll see a link down there in the bottom, a little box that says get your weekly events. I think so. You got to go to my newsletter, sign up for that to get this. It comes out every Monday morning at 7:00. This comes out whenever you want. Be updated every Friday. But look at this. Gives you the weather. So you could sign up here. Gives you movies this week, hiking adventures, entertainment and activities, concerts and festivals, and summer festivals, and some technology stuff. So I just thought a little bit different, just kind of adding a little value to people that are signing up for the newsletter. And guess what? I built it with artificial intelligence. Thought that was
awesome.
Here are the average cumulative days on market closed listings. 76 days, went up a little bit versus last week. That's a lagging indicator. So, and then there's a lot of debate over a listing shows up on Zillow and it says first day on Zillow. Oh, real estate agents are manipulating the data. It shows up as a new listing. Well, it's true. It's the first day on Zillow, but if you scroll down, you'll see it's probably been on the market for 180 days with another agent.
Yeah.
We can't get in a monkey with those numbers.
No. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to keep the house off the market for an entire year to reset that. But I think it's a good thing. I mean, to me, knowledge is power. The more information you've got, the better you are equipped to make the offer you're going to make. And knowing that it's been on the market for 284 days, and even though the listing says that it was listing 15 days ago, that's good information to have.
Yeah, there's accumulated days on market and agent days on market. So if you had a listing and it was on the market for 90 days and they switched over to me, accumulated days on market would be 90 days. Me would be 1.
Yep.
And but we're seeing a lot of that right now. As people tried to sell for the first quarter of this year, they're giving up on it, letting the listing expire so they can go find another agent, give them a chance to sell it. Because that's the problem. It's the agent's fault.
Yeah, of course. I was just going to say, there's a lot of old timers that might be trying to still manipulate it because you used to, if you could cancel your own listing and relist it, and it did not show those days years ago.
Yeah, years ago. You can't get away with that now.
No.
So
and agents used to do it all the time. I'd be like, are you sure that wasn't on the market? I swear I showed that to someone.
Or they have a listing and they change the price by $1, so it shows up as a price reduction.
Yeah.
That's here's our listing success rate. Went down. Why? Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Down to 68.2%. So it's, I saw a newsletter from an agent said that middle of July, real estate's going to explode. Market's going to go, rates are going to be lower. I'm thinking, what's going to happen in 6 weeks that makes all of that happen? Nothing.
Who'd you get that from?
Oh, I'm not going to say publicly.
Oh, okay. All right. Darn.
Offline, I'll tell you.
Okay.
But now the betting in the markets, it's not really betting, but there's, before the Fed meets, there's a probability that people measure. Mm-hmm. And there's a 93% chance that they're not going to adjust anything at the June meeting.
Right.
93% chance.
Yeah.
And the bond market's reflecting that. They don't anticipate any changes.
No.
Quite honestly, even if they went down 0.25, It's not going to move the bar.
It could make
So,
rates go up.
yeah, we could see higher rates in July than what we've got now. How much? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, there's just so many moving parts right now. But I don't see anything that says, oh man, here comes a busy July.
We
But
will
that's
let you
not,
know when we see it.
yeah, we'll be sure and tell you. You'll see it here. But but for sellers, I mean, you're hearing this and going, I can't list my home. This is
Well,
it's nothing selling. Well, it is. I mean, they are. The ones that aren't selling are the ones that you saw that came in hot and then were forced to adjust, which is where they probably should have started anyway.
well, but there are some areas that, like for instance, that North Phoenix one I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we're right there. I mean, we're not going on. I could have made it comp higher, and they were on the market for higher last year. So it's not like they're not trying to be realistic. We're probably 10,000 below where it comps at, which I think is a good number. We're maybe 8. We're going to go down a little bit more tomorrow, but and maybe tomorrow's going to be the change. But like I said, then there's some that surprisingly, we had one in Central Phoenix that I thought would sell right away. And then I'm talking to an agent friend of mine, and they list one that's like literally half a mile away, and they get multiple offers. It is so micro market. Like, you really need to have an agent who hones in, like with blocks.
Yeah, well, especially in Central Phoenix. I mean, every neighborhood is so radically different.
Yeah.
I saw a great video yesterday of a guy in Idaho, a realtor, and he was explaining the gap. Now, for me, the gap that I refer to is the gap between new listings and new contracts. The bigger the gap, the more downward pricing pressure you have. And then the opposite, more upward pricing pressure.
Sure.
He was talking about when you go in and you're looking at a listing for a home, you give the homeowners the range. Here's where your home falls within this price range. He goes, now, homeowners are going to always select the top end of that range. Okay, well, then let's try for this. So he tells them, okay, but it may be priced between 450 and 500,000, but he said, I think the odds of us getting 500,000 in a downward market right now is kind of rough. And here's why, because buyers now, they have a range.
Mm-hmm.
So buyers look at homes that are in a range, and they're not going to offer the top of that range. They want you to sell it at the bottom of that range. That's the gap. So the more aggressive the downward trend seems to looking ahead, then the more aggressive buyers are going to be on pulling you down. And
Sure.
so he's doing that. So, hey, there he is. Jared, I had the pleasure of having coffee with him this week down in Agritopia. Jared, I'll tell Jared's story here real quick. He's a house hacker. He buys homes, makes them like 8 bedrooms and rents them out by the room.
Yeah, pad split. That's doing well. I have a dear friend that's what they do. Pad split. Sure. You try to buy it like in an area where the bus line or businesses are.
No HOA.
No HOA.
Room for parking.
6 to 8 bedrooms, 6 to 8 bathrooms. They get rid of most of the living space and just kind of have a common area in the kitchen. But homes that, might only bring in a couple $100 a month as far as a rental, or get you an extra couple $1,000 a month that way.
Yeah. What's interesting, I said, well, who are your tenants? He goes, well, they're not asking for a 1-year lease. So you think it's like a traveling nurse or somebody that just is kind of in between, not sure how long they're going to live here. There's all kinds of different reasons, or looking for a place to rent, hasn't found anything yet. So they will stay there for a couple of months, and you got to be comfortable with the roommates. My son lived in a home in Tempe with 10 other people. And I went to see him once. I go, how do you do this? He goes, well, everybody has a job.
Yeah. They're not there.
One person is, the kitchen. The other one's trash. One's job is the bathrooms, and we rotate them. So, hello, Manny. And Jared says, we have 32 units and great win-win.
Awesome. Yeah, is he managing them? Are you managing them, or are you going through pad split?
No, no, not manage them all. He just reached out to me via YouTube here and said, let's have coffee. And I always say
Oh,
yes.
no, I
So,
was asking Jared if
oh,
he is
Jared. Oh, okay.
self-managing. I didn't ask you
Yeah.
if you were,
Yeah. Jared, are you self-managing? Uh, Harold
or is
says,
he going through pad split? Because
Jared, shout out from Honolulu, Hawaii. Wait for me. I'm going to Mesa soon. We're going to have a Mesa party. Moving from Texas to Arizona in 2026, trying to get a handle on the 85254 zip code. Seemingly wild fluctuations. What is with that area? 85254.
where is
Um
that?
is that Awatuki area? No, let's see.
Oh, I got a thing right here.
I'm
Check
gonna
this
pull
out.
up zip codes here and I'm gonna look at active listings 85254 while we're got everybody on the home or on the line here. 85254.
It is. Oh, that's a great area. That area is doing good. That's Cactus 64th Street.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah,
But look at their
Scottsdale.
listings, 212 this year versus 162 last year.
Look and see how many's pending in there.
Let's see. Here we got Rob says real estate's going to stay in
Anthony's
buyer's
in there.
market for a few years, in my opinion. What do you think, Jackie? We're going to be in a buyer's market for a few years? I mean, I think you may not be that far off.
Well, here's the only thing I'm going to say is that Phoenix historically has not been in a buyer market except for I think of 4 times total.
Yeah.
And listening to Tina, and typically buyer markets do not last for more than one entire year. So we'll see. It's kind of anybody's guess. I mean, there's so many things going on. It's like one thing can, have a ripple effect. So I can't answer that, but
Well, we have a
typically,
lot of pent up demand, and I explained it this week and said our demand right now is we have a huge pool of people that have the desire, but not the ability. In other words,
right.
affordability. So they're
Yeah.
out there. Now we get the comments, I'm not buying until we're down 60%.
That's not
Okay,
going
well,
to
I don't know
happen
how
this
long
time.
we're going to be out there.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening. That's a hope. That's not a strategy. Um, and but there's, as you're waiting, and I stress this a lot, get prepared. If you're convinced that house prices are going to be considerably lower next year, then what are you doing to get ready? Get ready. Get your finances in order. Start working with lenders now and saying, what can I do to improve my credit score to make sure I get the best rate? What do I do with my debt? So,
Yeah.
is there any way I can get rid of this car payment that I have so that if that opportunity that you're waiting for shows up, jump on it, because you don't want to go, oh, look, house prices have really come down. Let me check my credit.
Yeah.
That's
Well, and there's a lot of buyers I know right now are getting some good deals, but it's, the thing is, there's still so many that they're just pushed out of the market. It's really sad. What's really sad to me is a lot of the people that are pushed out of the market are the people that are from here.
yes.
And that's sad. Very sad.
Yeah. My middle son, he would like to buy, but he can't. He makes decent money, but and I've just told him, well, look, buy when you're ready. Don't stretch yourself out that much. Harold here says 26.1% COC returns, offer accepted next to Jared's in Glendale. You guys are going like crazy there. Jared picked up a place in Mesa and he's working on this week. So going back to Idaho, coming back after Father's Day. In fact, you're probably back up there now. Mark says, like the energy, after talking to prospects, a lot of them are holding off until things settle with all these ICE raids. Some of them are afraid to make a move. They are established. I don't know what the ICE raids are doing. I think it just right now, to be honest with you, any news is giving people an excuse to sit and wait. If you weren't in the mood to sit and wait, you wouldn't really care what the news
Yeah.
was, so like tariffs. Okay. That was the big buzz in January. Everybody was waiting till after November. I'm not doing a thing until after the elections. Then when you have the elections, I'm going to wait and see what happens with the tariffs. Now we got something new to worry about. And when this goes away, it's going to be, I don't know. Monsoon season's going to be rough. I'm going to wait.
I think we should just do a show like that.
Yeah.
It'd be funny.
Things to worry about.
101 reasons.
Yeah, 100 reasons not to do something, not to make a move. And yet, no matter how much you share and go, you know what? Elections have never affected the general direction of real estate. Now,
No.
in November and December, prior to the election in October, we were already headed down, right? I mean, we look at the Cromford Index. We were already headed, it had turned. Well, we had the elections. Did it turn back up? Did it go down front? No, it's still where it was. But up here it was like, well, you weren't going to buy anyway, but it's nice to tell friends, I'm not buying because of the election.
Yeah.
So, but people like that, that's just what I see. I'll never forget. I was up filming a video up in Scottsdale once, and I'm out there with my camera and I got a microphone hooked up to me. A lady goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "I'm doing a real estate video." "Oh, I'm not doing anything till after the election." Said, okay, I'll mention that.
Did I ask you?
Yeah, she's not doing anything till the election. So I started running for president on Facebook though. So
what?
I was doing campaign videos.
Oh God.
But I never offered a position or a platform. In fact, I said, I'm going to talk to you about my infrastructure plan. And as I started to talk, I'm behind a podium, lightning's, thunder's going off behind me.
Oh my God.
You can't hear me. And I go, and then it all calms down. And I go, and that's my plan.
I want to see that. You got to send that
I
to
think
me.
I still have them somewhere. I don't know.
Oh my God, that's hysterical.
I had a whole string of them. I
it's
had
a
them
Saturday Night Live skit.
I pulled them off of YouTube. I had them on there. I had I had a client actually called me Mr. President.
How funny.
50, 40, 10 loan for your son, Rick. Yeah, I don't know. He gets to fly out to Maryland. He works for Microsoft, and he gets to fly out to Maryland next week. It's the first trip that he's taken, business trip for a week. And he said his boss wanted him to come out. Fortunately, he gets to work from home. He's one of the few. He's an IT guy. And he said his boss wanted to craft an email to get him permission to come out for the meetings. He said the boss used artificial intelligence to write the email and said, please craft an email requesting that Kevin be able to come out to the meeting in Maryland. And if he doesn't attend, the world's going to end.
Oh, God.
I thought that was fabulous.
That's funny.
So, well, Jackie, it's good to have you back on again. I know you've been assisting me. By the way, how's your shoulder?
It's all right. It's getting there. I mean, I've had 15 surgeries on that thing and I didn't lose my arm. So I'm grateful, it's there.
But I'm glad to have you back out in the field for us. I know you've been helping me a lot. And, for those that don't know, we do everything on a referral basis. I've got a referral team. So we've got the whole valley covered. So if somebody is looking for something out the West End or up in the north, chances are I'm going to hook you up with Jackie and Ruby. You want something out the East Valley, Jessica. And so, it works out great. Tony says, chiming in from Fremont, California, for the last month, our local U-Haul has been packed from trucks coming in from Arizona and Texas. More so Arizona. Manager here who have been at U-Haul for 8 years. That's interesting.
That is.
Has never been like this. I think it's work from home.
Yeah,
so
probably.
I'm wondering, is it now Fremont? Tony, tell me what part of California that's in. I wonder if it's people that had moved from California to Arizona and then decided that.
Yeah.
Because they saw a lot in that in Texas, going to Texas.
Well, but if they had to come back to work. Yeah.
Yeah, but they had to come back to work.
Yeah.
Also, Canadians moving money around and selling assets happening in Maui, where I own a home. The Canadians a whole different deal. I did a video on that where it's a combination of the number one reason they're just very mad at the president. So tourism is hurting. Canadians are not coming down, and their dollar's getting hammered. So, are you still seeing an influx of buyers from Chicago, Seattle, Portland, and LA into Phoenix? not at the rate we were, but like we said earlier in the show, right now we've got a Seattle buyer, we have a New York buyer, and we have a Los Angeles buyer. So it's not at the rate, nothing's at the rate that it was, but yeah, they're still coming down. Chicago, I haven't. But it's interesting. Tony says San Francisco Bay Area. When you look at Arizona and you look at the home prices, you got to remember they went up everywhere. And if you just look at the Federal Reserve and you look at what happened to rates and how far down they went, and there's this flat line where they had zero, that's why real estate went up. It's not because of a particular state. It's not because of a particular demographic. It's just money was free.
Yeah.
And that's true. Just, Harold says, I want people to stay in Arizona, not priced out of the market, just like I want Hawaii people to stay in Hawaii. So, Harold, I'm not moving to your neighborhood. No, everybody.
I'd love to.
Yeah. I mean, I lived in a small town, Port Angeles, Washington. It was next to a retirement community about 15 miles called Sequim. And we were getting, this is back, I remember in the 70s and 80s, everybody complaining about all the Californians coming to Sequim.
Yeah.
And they're driving the prices up, and they were coming in and paying cash for these homes. Well, now guess what? Sequim's really expensive.
Oh, I bet. But
not because of Californians, because of everything. It has people from Seattle that are working for Microsoft and Amazon and Google, and they got to work from home, so they went over the Olympic Peninsula and got away from Seattle. And now a lot of them are getting called back. Fremont has the Tesla plant. Well, Jackie, I know you got stuff going again. I want to thank you again for coming on here. We're going to cut you loose. And everybody, thanks for being here, especially the millions and millions of viewers. And I know how disappointed they are that Pat wasn't here.
Come on.
Good to see you, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me back.
You bet.
All right.
To you soon.
Okay.